we sail a little bit high. Was caught in the crossfire. Was caught in the crossfire.
So a little bit backstory about me. I come from Ohio, which is in America, and my parents were Catholic. We went to a private Catholic school until about the age of 9, me and my brother. We also attended Sunday school and church every Sunday, and I loved it. I really didn't question my religion or anything like that until I got a little bit older, and the only thing I did think was a little bit strange as a child was that we had to go to a priest to confess our sins, to be forgiven by God. Since the priest is a man, I thought this was a little bit strange. Why couldn't I just pray to God and ask him to forgive my sins? This was very embarrassing as well for me as a child. And as I got a little bit older, we moved to a little town called Mecca, Ohio. And this was the first time I ever heard the mention of Islam. And my mother educated us and let us know that there's a town called Mecca across the pond that Muslims, they pray towards, and I never really thought about it after that again until about 9/11. So during my childhood or my teenage years, I got involved with the church, and this is because some kid started preaching to me about Jesus and the Bible, and it got me really interested. Like, how is this kid super religious at this young age, so devoted to God? So I wanted to know more about Christianity and the Bible, and I started to attend church. I really liked the way that I felt when I went. I started to learn more and more and joined a Bible study group, and I read the Bible every single day. There were a few things in the Bible that were questionable to me, but I kind of just glossed over it and continued. And around the time that I wanted to join this Jesus debate team, my mother, she, felt that I was away from the home a lot, which she was probably right. I was at this church maybe 2-3 times a week, and I wanted to go there more. I really liked the way it made me feel. So she stopped me from going as much as I wanted to. So at that time, being a rebellious teenager, I went the completely different direction and delve into anything dark. So I started getting into all kinds of things that I wasn't allowed to be getting into, and hung around a lot of kids that I shouldn't have been hanging out with, so the wrong crowd, and my life started spiraling down. And I even looked into satanic religions, and which really I found out wasn't for me anyways, but anything dark really attracted me at this time. And this went on until I was about 21. So my life had gotten so out of control because of the people I was hanging out with and the things I was doing. I had felt like I was completely gutted. So I felt like there was nothing left inside of me, and I felt like I was in hell already, and this is what I deserved. So since my life was so bad, something rose up in me, and I felt like this is my last chance. I'm going to pray. And so I got down on my knees and I said, God, if there is a God, please kill me or help me. I don't want to live anymore. So a miracle happened, and about 2 weeks later, all these bad circumstances happened. This relationship that I was in that was completely haram, he kicked me out, alhamdulillah, and I met my neighbor down the hall who gave me a ride somewhere, and he gave me his story about how he kind of got out of all this stuff. He was not Muslim, but he did help me get into this group that did help me find my spirituality at the time and stop drinking, and my life improved, and it improved a lot. I got closer to God as I understood him, except I was still involved in a haram relationship that I had gotten myself into, and I had no real guidelines for living except for to try and be honest and try and treat people with respect, and I was trying to improve myself as a person, but there was no real rules for living. And my life was better, but in a different direction, it was getting a lot worse. And it got to the point where this relationship wasn't working out, and I just wanted a clean start over. So I got rid of this relationship and I moved into this place with my friend, and I was just alone. I didn't really have any friends at the time, and I didn't really have any boyfriends at the time, so I was completely alone, and I was actually content with my life for the first time, although a little bit sad. And I joined an acting class, and I was getting involved with things around the community, and I was starting to feel better about my life. Eventually, I agreed to meet up with this guy, and I'll tell you, I really didn't want to. I was happy with my life, going along content. I've had enough of like relationships and things like that, so I really felt like I didn't want to meet with this guy, but I did anyways. And alhamdulillah, he was very kind, a gentleman, didn't try to, make any moves on me at all. He didn't try to kiss me, didn't try to do anything else, and this was intriguing to me because this isn't what I was used to at all. So I agreed to meet him a few more times, and I met his family, and they were just the most hospitable people that I've ever met in my life. So this sparked the interest of me to kind of look into what is Islam, what is it all about. And a little backstory about that, I did believe in God, so I was praying to God every single day. I wasn't call myself a Christian though, because I did not believe that you had to pray to Jesus to get to God. And funny, that's what Islam believes, is that you basically worship God alone. And I've actually had, unfortunately, arguments with people close to me about this as well. And in fact, I'll just read a little verse about the Bible actually states, Acts 2:2. Fellow Israelites, listen to this. Jesus of Nazareth was a man accredited by God to you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did among you through him, as you yourselves know. So my understanding was that Jesus was able to do all these things because God did it through him. Now, Jesus also prayed to God. So if he was God, why would he be praying to God? Why would God need to die on the cross to forgive us? So I never really got down with the Christian thing, and I'm not bashing Christianity. I know a lot of Christians who are wonderful people too, but I just couldn't believe it myself. So the more I started to learn about Islam on my own, this guy never talked to me about Islam. I really wanted to know, if I was going to continue seeing this guy, what am I getting myself into? And there was this podcast and there's a lot of podcasts that I would listen to. But the one that I loved the most was Mufti Menk. And every time I went to the gym or I had to drive somewhere, I would listen to this guy for hours. And I loved his podcasts. They were just so beautiful. And he talked about how we should be treating our family with kindness and respect, and especially our parents. And I could just feel my heart starting to open. Like, not that I'm a perfect person, or even that I was close to a perfect person at that time, but my heart was starting to open. And I really just thought this is a beautiful religion. This is not what people are saying that it is at all, on the news, or even my family. Unfortunately, they are educated by the news and these biased websites that are just terrible and say awful lies about Islam. And so, I was secretly studying Islam on the down low, and I knew that it was for me. I wanted to become Muslim. And I ordered a prayer mat and some prayer clothes, and I tried to teach myself how to pray, which was, oh my gosh, it was totally a mess. And this went on for a few months, and after a few months, it's haram for Muslims to have relationships outside of marriage. So this guy that I was seeing, he proposed to me, and alhamdulillah, I accepted. Now, he never pressured me to become Muslim at all. But knowing that I wanted to become Muslim, I ended up taking my shahada at our nikah, and I felt a weight being lifted off of me immediately. You become like a new person. or your soul is renewed when you take the Shahada. So around the same time, they say when you're coming to Islam that Shaitan is all around you. Around the same time, before I took my Shahada, I had, different family members were sending me all these horrible videos about Islam, and what I did was I verified what's in the video to the truth. I wanted to know, is this actually in the Quran, and what does it mean? And what I found out was that these videos were lies, and I couldn't believe it. So I ended up taking my Shahada when we had our nikah, and I wanted to do it before then, but I was just so scared to go into a mosque by myself. I didn't know what to expect, and I actually got dressed up one time and tried to go into a mosque, but that didn't happen. So I chickened out. But so I didn't start wearing the hijab right away. I didn't tell my parents I was Muslim right away, and my mother kind of figured it out later on, and I can make a whole nother video about that, but she kind of figured it out later on. She was pretty disappointed in me, and I try to teach her or treat her with kindness and respect, the way that Allah would have us treat our parents. And it is a journey. I'm not perfect in any kind of way, but I know that Islam has taught me to be a better person, and to I have responsibilities towards my family, and I try to fulfill those, and it's very difficult at times, but they have rights over us. So alhamdulillah, I wouldn't trade my life now for anything. I am so blessed, and I am so grateful that I had become Muslim, and my life is wonderful. Any difficulties that I do have, I have peace in my heart now that I didn't have before. And to my friends and family, I love you all. You don't have to agree with me, and that's fine. I respect you, and hopefully, inshallah, we will all be able to peacefully coexist. And I think that's pretty much it. If you're interested in Islam, or even just learning about Islam or becoming a Muslim, research. Learn from the scholars. Learn from a reputable source. Don't just read any old thing. When you Google Islam, a lot of scary things pop up, and there's a lot of lies going around about Islam, and it's all been written, so this is done on purpose.